Tess, rumor has it you've made vacation envy a real thing here in Whitefish.
Guilty as charged. At Outside Metro, we've got everything from cozy downtown lofts to Lakeview retreats, even barns with pickleball courts. And with over 500 five-star reviews, you really can't go wrong.
What? Okay, I'm already packing my bags.
Just make sure you book direct, Julie, and save on those booking fees at OutsideMetro.com. That's where the good stuff happens.
Done. Outside Metro. And stay where the locals play. The IWD406 Podcast, where Montana women are heard, celebrated, and supported. Today's guest is a trailblazer in every sense of the word, literally. She hiked them, built them, and blazed her own right into the heart of Montana. Raised on a dairy farm in Connecticut with llamas, hard work, and a healthy dose of grit. She grew up milking cows, hauling hay, and dreaming big. As a young woman, she taught outdoor skills to teens and spent years swinging axes on trail crews before deciding it was time to carve her own path, one that fit women as well as the work pants she would go on to design. You may know her as the founder of Red Ants Pants, the revolutionary workwear brand built by women for women. Not just to look good, but to get the job done. But Sarah didn't stop there. She's also the powerhouse behind the Red Ants Pants Foundation, uplifting women in leadership, supporting rural communities, and strengthening Montana's agricultural roots. And of course, she's the mastermind behind the Red Ants Pants Music Festival, which brings thousands of people each summer to the tiny town of White Sulphur Springs, a place known for its natural hot springs, cowboy bars, and the kind of sky that makes you believe in big dreams again. Here's a fun fact. White Sulphur Springs inspired more than just the festival crowd. It's also the backdrop for This House of Sky, the beloved memoir by Montana author Ivan Doig, a book that so deeply resonated with Sarah that it helped inspire her to pack up her life and move west, determined to build something real, rugged, and rooted in community. Now, I wanted to find some parallels between Doig and Calhoun. Doig gave voice to those rarely heard rural families, women, and multi-generational Montanans who embody quiet strength. Sarah amplifies those same voices through her Red Ants Pants Festival, celebrating community, music, and rural culture, while raising funds for leadership and women's empowerment. Whether she's designing durable gear, mentoring the next generation of rural leaders, or turning a quiet ranch town into one of Montana's most beloved gathering spaces, Sarah Calhoun is proof that when women roll up their sleeves, mountains move. Let's get into it with the one and only Sarah Calhoun.
I wish I had woo track. If we were in studio, you would get that, Sarah. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to chat with you. You're remarkable. I just want to first start out. You are just a legend for our state. I want to say on a personal level, the impact that you've had on rural America is pretty. Do you ever sit back and just take a big deep breath and honor yourself for that?
I can't say I do enough, but I probably should. It's neat reflecting on some of the projects and the impacts we've had for sure.
Yeah. And I think as a little girl starting out in Connecticut, which I want to talk a little bit. I know you're not originally from Montana, born and raised on the East Coast. Let's talk a little bit about that, your upbringing.
Yeah, actually born up in New Brunswick, Canada.
You were in Canada and then came to, okay.
Yeah, my folks started farming there, although they're from the States, and then moved back down to the family farm area where my grandparents had the dairy and my folks had the llama farm. So pretty exceptional childhood in that we were able to have both parents working at home and being great role models as small business owners, which farmers always are, and also just having plenty of animals around and woods to play in and lots of outdoor time and really supportive small rural community, which is just the way I like it.
Yeah, I looked up the area that you grew up. You guys have covered bridges, yes. Right?
Yep.
And it's a town of around 1,600.
Yep. exactly.
So that's small and everybody knows everybody. How much acreage did your family own?
Our immediate family was 26 acres, but the Calhoun family over the years had most of the valley, which they fortunately put into a lot of conservation easements. So there's still a lot of ag in the valley
Oh,
floor,
wow.
which is awesome to see.
That
He
is awesome.
actually a wonderful guy who's now starting a cheese operation in my grandparents' dairy barn, which is super neat. So there's jerseys back in the valley too.
No way. That is really cool. Which, like creating like what type of cheese? Any type?
It's right now it's soft cheese as they get going, but he's building a cheese cave so there will be hard cheeses coming at some point, which is brilliant.
So brilliant. So
Yeah.
amazing. So you were the farm kid growing up, which means that you had to get up at the butt crack of dawn, 5:30, right?
We didn't milk on our place. That was my dad grew up on the dairy. So
Okay.
I did not have to milk any cows, but it was in the summertime certainly helping with bringing hay in with dad, and then lots of animal husbandry and getting to train llamas and just being around all sorts of livestock is pretty lovely way to grow up.
It really is. And I just want to, I want to point out, you said train llamas. What do you have to do to train llamas? What is that?
It's funny, I haven't thought about this in years, but we just halter breaking them and so that you can lead them around and load them if you need to move them from farm to farm or that sort of thing. Just working with them so they're easier to shear and handle.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So now how many brothers and sisters do you have? Do you have any?
I have
or you-
one sister. Yep. She's older and she's still back home.
And she grew up as well on the farm, learning all the ins and outs, all of it. Is there one thing that kind of stood out to you that kind of, if you're looking back at your life and going, I had this amazing farm life, and this is what this specific part of it has driven what I'm doing today? Is there anything about that?
I think certainly all the lessons of seeing the self-reliance and strong work ethic and that sort of thing. But there was one singular historic event that did happen in our town with a tornado coming through in 1989, and I was 10 at the time, and it was such a great, pretty amazing example of community coming together to pitch in, and our farm got just wrecked with it was incredible. Tornadoes are quite something. The buildings are okay, and we actually didn't lose any livestock, but the whole our farm is right on the oldest stand of white pine trees east of Mississippi. It's called the Cathedral Pines, and so there were some massive trees coming down, and the whole town just pitched in for the whole summer, really helping get all the trees cleaned up and supporting one another. It was probably 15 days without power and trying to keep everything running. So just seeing how communities come together when bad things happen was a really influential, impactful lesson to me at the age of 10. So
thank you for sharing that. Because
yeah.
now I see a little bit of the glimpse into your future of where your mindset is and was, and where it kind of not to say you probably didn't have that beforehand, but really those type of core memories drive the way we do things in our lives.
Yep, they really do. And the examples, they become so personal at that age of just seeing how neighbors pitch in. And that's driven a lot of our work with the foundation to this day.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Now, going into high school, you started to work with Outward Bound and Youth Corps, correct?
I did work for Trail Crews and Outward Bound after college. Yep. So that was
after college.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So let's back up a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about going to college. What did you want to go to college for?
That's a great question. I ended up studying environmental science, which was really the only classes that I could take outside, which was lovely. But then I did definitely wanted to save the world at that time. And then when I started learning about all of the problems in the world, environmentally speaking, I got pretty overwhelmed. And then with that transition, it was funny looking at some of the other business and marketing majors and all that. I was judgy on, they just want to make money and I want to save the world. And now here I am in business. And I remember distinctly one of my papers senior year where it was my scientific, you can't really make up science papers, right? It's more technical writing and research and data. But I tried very hard, and my senior professor was like, Sarah, you would be amazing at marketing. And she gave me a D on the paper because it was not a
really
fun science paper. But I was like, marketing, what do you mean on that? And then it turns out that ended up being a strength. So
that's amazing. I want to ask real quick.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. When you say I want to save the world, I always am curious when people become passionate about that. Now, first you had that community experience with the tornado and coming together as a town coming together to help one family, and then now transitioning into the plight of environmental issues. Can you recall some of the first things that popped in mind where you're like, that's some injustice right there? What were some of the first things that you became concerned about? And who were some of the people in your life that influenced that?
I think in general, this was back when like acid rain was a big deal in the 90s and things like extinction of certain animals and endangered species and all of this. When I got more into college, I got involved a little bit more with caring about public lands, which is interesting because in New England, there's not a lot of national forests. There's certainly none in Connecticut or Massachusetts. You have to go up to Vermont and New Hampshire. But I was very lucky to have grown up in a place where there was a lot of state land around, but also we just had our own places to roam and lots of outdoor spaces. And so I appreciated that and recognized what it had done for me. And that certainly had an impact. And then learning more about what happens nationally with the threat of public lands and multi-use for all these different places. And it was pretty interesting to learn about.
Yeah, I know. I hate to say this, but being in Montana and seeing all the development take place, I understand economic growth. I get that. My husband and I were from a generational family business, and we work in the mining business and all that kind of stuff. And yes, things happen. Commercial real estate builds up, but it is hard to stare out at the landscape. And I think of Big Mountain. I think of Whitefish Mountain Ski Resort and the former people that have lived here for many years, generational Whitefish families, have said they used to look up at the mountain. They saw no lights. It was just the majestic view of the trails and all the prettiness and the lights. Now there's pops up of lights. There's buildings going up. It breaks up the landscape, and you can feel the sadness when we talk about it. And it's hard because we do have so much population growth happening here, and development's going to happen, and we have to have grocery stores and things like that. But does any of that bother you when you see the growth of what's happening in Montana and the landscape changing tremendously?
I'm pretty tied into hoping to conserve a lot of ag land and that landscape as well as the wild landscapes. But the reality is everyone needs a place to live and people want to recreate. So the value of public lands where everyone can share it is obviously huge. The things that are a little frustrating to see is when people come in and buy a lot of land, make it private, and or don't really contribute to the community. That's a hard one for me to see. I feel like if you're going to own land someplace, there should be some contribution to the local community, whether it's even economically buying gas on the way through or supporting it with economic development or just basic cash flow. But we see a lot of folks that aren't really invested locally. Yeah. So that's hard to watch, I would say.
Yes, it is. Yes.
When there's there's nothing in particular I'm thinking, but when you have downtown commercial buildings that people are just sitting on and not occupying where another small business could be using it and just waiting for investment turns or that sort of thing. I think there is value in, like, there should be a community tax, so to speak, where if you're going to have this property, you should join a local organization or get involved locally. I don't know. Yeah.
I get you. I hear you. And I know we could have another podcast on that.
Yeah, I know.
This is about you and your experience in life. And so let's go back to you graduating in college. You were in college and you decided, you were like, I want to do environmental science. And then I had this great professor, and this professor said, you should do marketing. And at that time, was that when the entrepreneur bug, or were you like, I was going to corporate America?
Yeah, no, I was not like that. By any means, I still didn't even know what a business plan was. And this was not at the point where I was even considering any sort of business or entrepreneurship, but I just brushed it off and got through graduating. And then I did a lot of trip leading and whatnot in college with other peers. And then that's when I got into Outward Bound and thought, if I can't save the world, maybe I can step in and take kids in the backcountry and make sure they see the benefit of it. And
I
try
think
to
that's beautiful.
impact folks one at a time, which was really awesome. And that Outward Bound program, we worked with a lot of students from inner city Baltimore and Philly, and kids that hadn't even been hiking in the woods, never mind backpacking for 10 days straight. So that was pretty impactful to see.
Very impactful. What did you learn from those inner city kids? What were some of the lessons you took away?
Oh, they were fantastic. I think things like, there was this great story where all these kids, they ended up sleeping head first in their sleeping bags because they'd never been in a sleeping bag before. And there's things where we take so much for granted of just life experiences or certain perspectives of what we're used to, and that's not the case for everyone. So it was a good step back.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's just probably even the little details that you just had mentioned, little things, even they're so reliant on the market just being up the way, or everything's so accessible when you live in a city. And then for some of these kids, the accessibility is maybe standing in a food line kind of thing.
Yep.
And then you get the opportunity to take these kiddos out and teach them. Were you teaching them like leadership skills? What were you teaching them?
Yeah, there was a lot of leadership. You work as a kind of a cohort and when you're in the field, and lots of different roles for leading the group or navigating or the different chores and cooking jobs and that sort of thing, but a lot of basic backcountry skills as well, and how to use map and compass. And many of them hadn't even been in the woods, learning knots and how to set up your tarp and all that sort of stuff. It was pretty neat, and again, very new to a lot of them. So it was.
Yeah. And for somebody like you that's already been there, done that, and now you have these kids that were you 20 some years old this time?
Yep. Early 20s.
Early 20s. You got and these inner city kids are in their teens, right? Maybe early adolescence.
Early teens. Yep.
And you probably didn't realize it at the time that you created massive core memories for these kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the impacts when you're living and you're around the clock with them. It's not, I remember one kid emailing after, some of these are rougher kids scholastically, and just saying the impacts of a week in the woods with us was more than a year-long teacher relationship. So it's, you accelerate pretty quickly with those kind of in-depth experiences, because it's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, it's all the things all at once.
Did you ever have any of the kids go on to do anything like environmental science, or did you keep track of any of those kids?
Some of them in later years. I worked for an Apache Youth Corps back in 2003, and there was one member that did get into fish, wildlife, and parks, which was pretty neat. And
that's really cool.
Touch for a while after that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. Okay, so let's go after college, and you did that for how many years? 12 years?
Oh no, about 5 years seasonally.
Oh, 5 years. Okay. So were you working for them, or were you volunteering?
No, those were jobs, paid jobs. Yeah.
Paid jobs. And did you think that you were going to stay with that organization, or did you at that time think, I've been working out on these trails, and obviously I want to know the conception of you creating workwear for women. Where did that idea manifest? Did it come from that?
Yeah, it was certainly just in the field. And so those years of that seasonal work, I would do Outward Bound in the spring and fall, and then started doing trail crews in the summer, and then with seasonal. So you do a crew here in Tennessee, and then head to Arizona for the fall, and then California for the winter. You can move around quite a bit, which was fun. But the whole time with all my work and projects, it was just very frustrating because there was nothing on the market that fit women as far as work pants, and we'd all be wearing men's square Carhartts that really don't fit any sort of curves. And I just got tired of it because it was a functional product we needed. And so it definitely came from needing the product. It came out of necessity, not from wanting to start a business.
Yeah. And I have to ask you, where did you even start? Because I think that would be overwhelming.
Yes.
You have a problem. You have and you probably did all your research, because you seem like you don't jump into anything head first. And so you did your research. Was there anything on the market at that time that was for women?
No, there literally was not anything.
Nothing. Okay.
And this was this was like 2000 to 2004. And yeah, how do you start? Someone was telling me, oh, you should write a business plan. And I did not know what a business plan was. So I went and bought a copy of Small Business for Dummies and then learned what all the things I had to do. But the first thing that came into my mind was the name, which Red Ants Pants in an ant colony, it's the female ants that do all of the work and the male ants simply breed and die. So that seemed like a fitting title.
I love it.
That stuck. And then moved to Bozeman. I hadn't ever been to Montana, but decided to give it a try. And that's where that first weekend I was reading that Small Business for Dummies book and ran into a fellow that was doing production and design for Patagonia for 20 years. And he became a phenomenal mentor.
But did you work with Patagonia then? Or no, just you did?
I did not work with them, no, but he was one of their designers, or he became an advisor.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. You do need that. So then what was the first, so you wrote a business plan, first and foremost, you decided to move to Bozeman, Montana in 2000, between that time frame?
2004, yeah.
2004 is when you moved to Bozeman. Okay, yeah. And when you moved to Bozeman, my kid's going to be going to school there next year. And we drove through Bozeman, I don't know, many years ago. My husband and I and our kids, and I can't get over how much change has happened in that area. It's tremendously grown. It's grown tremendously.
Yep.
So you came to Bozeman, and I'm sure it still was a decent sized city. What, around 50,000, maybe 60,000?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
It's not like a big, huge city filled with opportunity. You've got this idea. You obviously have the name, and now you have this gentleman that's coming in from Patagonia that has the conceptual piece, the design component.
He knew the industry, obviously, and to hear someone say, wow, Sarah, this is a good idea, I think we need to go with this now, was really fantastic. And then he gave me a lot of contacts, like to our pattern maker, who also contracted with Patagonia. And then he connected me with some other folks that connected me with the factory I ended up using. And it was just knowing someone in the industry that has the network, and also just the experience of, okay, Sarah, what you really need to do is learn the production floor. So get a job sewing backpacks is what I did to first learn how manufacturing works and that sort of stuff. So he was a really good advisor to all those things.
You got a job sewing backpacks? That's what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Where at? For what company?
It was called Wookie in Bozeman.
Okay.
They're no longer in business, but it was a fantastic way to learn to actually sew on industrial machines and
good for you.
How things come together. Yeah. That was a good winter, and just started learning everything I could about when you're starting a business and a new brand. It's not only just the design of the product, but the textiles, and where do you import them from, and how do you find the right zippers and the trims and a manufacturing facility, and making decisions like, is it US made, or is it offshore, or do we sell wholesale to retailers? Is it direct to consumer? Meanwhile, trying to figure out the financing of how do I do this, because I was bootstrapping the whole thing, and how do we come up with the name and the logo and the website and the marketing and all that good stuff. Like, where do I get a landline for a fax machine? And it was at that point where I was like, all right, I'm not going to be in Bozeman forever. It was a little bit too big of a town for me. And so after a year there, I moved to White Sulphur Springs because I had read about it in a wonderful book by Ivan Doig. It's memoir, This House of Sky. So I moved up to White Sulphur, and there had a formal shop and office, and could finally get a real fax machine and put it on my business card.
I have to ask you, Sarah, how long did it take you? So I want to back up a little bit because I got to picture all this. So you're in Bozeman, you got a job at a place to learn the manufacturing piece. And while you're there, you're essentially formulating this plan and all these little components. But I think, to me, I don't know how you conceptualize, I don't know how you methodically process things, but for me, I would think I need help. I need lots of help because this is a lot of moving parts. And I think oftentimes business owners, women-owned business owners, they do it all. Were you finding yourself doing it all in the very beginning?
Oh, yeah, because you don't have the money to pay anybody. So you've got to figure it out and wear all the hats, even if you're really not good at finance or understanding QuickBooks or any of it. You just had to learn it and figure it out. So I did have to, things like the technical, like I contracted with a pattern maker. So I was doing the design work, and we went 8 months back and forth. I'd be sketching what I thought I wanted of the pants and knew what I wanted for the fit and function. And so I would send that to her, and then she would put it on a 3D design, like actually make the pattern. And then we'd get prototypes sewn, and then she'd ship them up. And I didn't meet her the whole time we were doing this. She was down in Malibu.
Wow.
Lots of different samples. So we finally got the right fit. And my roommate at the time was the straight cut fit model, and I was the curvy cut fit model for our product. We have two styles. And it ended up working. So it was a lot of back and forths and a lot of, to your point of, there's catch-22s every step of the way. It's in the business plan. You have to project how many sales you're going to do and how much money you're going to make off each pair. Meanwhile, you don't even know what fabric you're using and how much it costs per yard and what the duty fees are going to be importing it and all that. There's so many details that are hung up on one another before you can get moving. So there was a lot of learning that year for sure.
So, and let me ask you this. I'm going to be frank. So you were working at a backpack company paying for this. Did you have to do anything with a small business loan? Because obviously this isn't free to work with a pattern maker, right? How did you offset all that with the money?
And then buying all the initial inventory and all of that. So I was working with the SBA out of Bozeman initially to help me on the business plan, and then did take that. They back loans, small business loans. So I went to a couple different banks, and the interest rates were 9% at that time.
Okay.
And I remember I was so proud of this little business plan, and this kind of stodgy old banker came out. He's, why do we need this? There's already men's Carhartts. And I was like, this is not the point, buddy. And he didn't get it at all. But I didn't end up applying formally. I ended up borrowing money from family, which was a much more affordable interest rate. So I was fortunate to be able to do that.
And I think along the way, so it took you a year to get the pattern figured out. Now you have the concept. It's now coming into fruition. So now we have an actual product and you have to sell it, right? Yep. At that time, and hold on, I want to back up. You weren't in White Sulphur Springs until you had an actual physical product, right? Or were you still in Bozeman creating all this?
I was in Bozeman for just 1 year And while I was sewing backpacks, I was also peeling logs, which is like with a draw knife, and grooming ski trails at the Nordic ski hill there. So it was just because I still had to support myself, because obviously the pants company wasn't bringing anything in yet. So just doing my homework and trying to learn everything I could, and then moved up to White Sulphur in 2005, kept going with all of the work with the figuring out production and all of that, and opening and renovating a storefront here in this place, and then opened the doors in October of 2006. So first year of research in Bozeman, and then really getting boots on the ground and building shelves and getting inventory and figuring out how to package it and ship it. And
I want to back up a little bit. I see women struggling. Obviously, they have fantastic concepts. They obviously learn all the pieces of manufacturing, whatever they're doing, or how does their service offering and counseling, whatever thing like that. But when it goes to selling, do you feel you're pretty skilled at selling? Because I often see women are either good at promoting, like marketing and promotion, and they suck ass at selling, right? Were you at that point? Because it doesn't sound like to me you had any sort of sales background.
No, my God, no. And I don't like sales, it turns out.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And there's different types, because now you've got this new concept that people don't know of, and they're like, wait a minute, who's this woman that has these work pants, and we've been used to wearing the Carhartts and just dealing with Carhartts. How did you start to find your ideal avatar to sell to?
Yeah. So once I got the store open, and then you launch a website, right? And this is early days of like SEO and these new concepts of how to do sales online. And of course, there's some sales trickling in, but what I did, recognizing that, because I did choose D2C, so direct to consumer, not going through retail shops, we had our work cut out for us I had my work cut out for me to really build the brand and teach people about it, so they would just understand that it's out there to be able to purchase. So what I did was bought an old Airstream trailer and did something called Tour de Pants, where we took the pants on the road and did house parties all over the country. So I had a lot of, just for my seasonal work, a lot of buddies in different areas around the country. Just started going on the road and traveling, and they would hold the parties, bring the people, and we would bring the pants and then had a beer sponsor. And so we just get to know our customers face to face and hear their stories. And it was really pretty fun.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And we did this little slideshow, who we are as a company and all these customer pictures. And so folks really got in on the ground level and then, started spreading the word in these different pockets of communities we traveled to. So
Sarah, that's brilliant.
it was fun. It's kind of very grassroots, certainly, because it's affordable and accessible. But
And what a way to go to the people, because obviously you targeted women in certain geographic areas that are doing rural type work, working outside, carpentry work, all those kind of things. So you went to your customer, you went to your ideal avatar.
Yep.
And then do you remember your first sale? Because I always think that's cool to talk about.
I do. It was actually to Sam Bloomquist, who was my roommate in Bozeman, who was the straight cut fit model. So when we had our grand opening, we made a point to have her buy the first pair, and we still have that first dollar framed in the shop.
Oh, very cool. That's really exciting. Okay, so now you're out there doing it, and I love the fact that you were tenacious. You had this really cool concept to sell direct, and then you started making sales. Was there ever a moment, are you the type of person that if you have something, a goal in mind, you stick with it? Did you ever have any reservations throughout this process where you're like, dang, this is hard? And
Yep.
You did.
Oh,
okay, how did you work
it's
through
super hard. But once you commit to something of this scale, where I'd borrowed money and bought a shop and moved to this town in the middle of nowhere that I didn't know anybody, I was committed to seeing this thing through. And I think my pride was a good part of that, for sure. Whether that's healthy or not, I don't know. But in Mar County, when the first year I was here in 2005, The Economist released a report naming it the lowest income of any county in the nation. So it's not where you'd think location for retail. It's not like I chose a place where lots and lots of folks are going to come through and stumble into our retail store. It's your classic boom and bust extraction town with mining and logging and wonderful community and a lot of ranching throughout. So I was off to the races and had to put my time in to build this thing.
And I want to ask you, being an outsider, moving to this small community, because White Sulphur Springs has how many residents? And it's pretty
900 in town. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was in comparison to where you grew up from, a little bit less. So it's a dinky town, a lot of character, probably a lot of families, generational families. And then you start this store. How were you received in the beginning?
With a lot of curiosity, I would say. It's not very common for a single 25, 26-year-old to move in. And it was pretty visible I got this great old historic saddle shop, this brick building right on Main Street, where the shop is on the front with commercial space, and then I would live behind it and then rent out 2 apartments upstairs so I could maintain myself. And the real estate was incredibly affordable back then. So it was obvious, like, who's this young woman out front painting the front of this new store and what's happening? And I literally had huge tablets of paper writing down the names and connections of every person I met and how they were all connected, because that certainly is a thing in small towns. But they were welcoming, and I think wondering what I was up to, for sure.
Yeah. I can ask you, because of the way that you think and how you are resourceful, and just saying how you own this building, now you have this storefront, and then you're renting out apartments. Where do you get that from? Is that from your mom, dad, family member?
Probably my folks. Yeah, it made sense because I needed a place to live and have an office, and then had a revenue stream upstairs. So that was it was a good fit for what I needed, and it was available. But granted, it's only wood heat and there's no insulation in this building. And like my toilet bowl froze solid and had chimney fires, and some of the tenants had bar fights upstairs, and one kid shot himself in the leg with a pistol while upstairs. And there were things that I think my mother was wondering about my decision making, for sure.
But yet they still supported you, obviously. It's pretty remarkable to see that you had this. I'm sure you were a type of kid that you had your mindset to something. Your mom and dad probably gently, if it wasn't going to work out for you, they probably let you do it, try it, fail, and then coerce you into maybe more of what would work kind of thing. Yep. And I love the fact that even just the marketing concept of the Tour de Pants. It seems that you think things through thoroughly. Don't jump right in. And
yes and no. I trust my gut a lot and don't always do a lot of like data-driven research before decision making, but I assess what my skill set is and or my persuasive abilities could be to get to a certain outcome, and then I trust my gut. But I think I have a pretty good sense of the realism of outcomes, hopefully. And then do my homework for sure. You got to do your homework, and then make the leap. And when you're 25, you're so much more naive than 25, that's for sure.
And I would think being in this small community and there's a curiosity, but are they coming through your doors to buy? Did you rely heavily on online sales?
Yes, for sure. Yep.
Okay. Is there more people now? Because you're now how many years?
20 years. Let's see. Officially, I opened in fall of 2006. So next year will be a full 20 years in business.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
That is crazy. But that's a lot of brand awareness. What are some of the secrets that you have? What's your secret sauce?
Oh, I don't know. I think just staying genuine to who we are and our customers and the functionality of our product. The fact even just that we're in rural Montana where women work so very hard and actually use the products, that helps with the branding, right? If we were in Cincinnati or some random urban area, it wouldn't tie in as well in my mind. And my background being authentically a user, I think initially was a big help to build the brand. And it's a really good product and it's well designed and it functions and it fits, and that sells itself for sure.
And I want you to talk a little bit about your product, because I know there's a lot of pride in there. So talk to me a little bit about what makes your product unique. Not only is it for women, it's workwear for women, but what other aspects of it do people need to know about in regards to your product?
Yeah. So initially, our original work pant comes in 74 sizes, which is a little bit crazy for any number of SKUs for any brand. So that's with the straight cut and the curvy cut. But we initially did waist by inseam. So there was a lot of inseam options because we come in as women are every single shape and size. And I am convinced that pants, especially 100% cotton with no stretch, was our original, that it's the singular most difficult pant or product, any sort of apparel to design and fit, because there's no give and there's no stretch. And this was back in the day when, and now you can't even buy jeans without stretch. Like it's what we're all used to wearing. But back then, so these are 100% cotton canvas duck. It's a 12 ounce and it's a pretty heavy duty pant with a double knee and a double seat, gusseted crotch, lots of good side pockets. And so we just had one colorway. It was a chocolate, like a dark chocolate brown. And we were really just focused on getting them to fit as many bodies as possible.
What do women say when they wear them? What has been some of the top standouts?
Oh, they love it. It's actually probably a downfall to the business, but they don't wear out very easily, so it's not people don't need to buy them again for a couple of years. Typically, I actually had people tell me that I should make a less quality product so that we could sell more of them. And I was like, that's not how we do things here. And people were just so excited to have a product that actually fit and was designed for women and getting over hips and having curves. And so when you put on square Carhartts, and if you have any sort of hips, you have to buy them, the waist really big to get over your hips. And then it's just gaping at the waist. And the crotch is low. And
that's a problem with ski pants as well. And there's women out there designing ski outfits, ski pants because of those issues.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you, my husband owns a manufacturing company, and oftentimes with the changes with all the things, import, export, all those types of issues that roll out, do you design all the pants in-house at White Sulphur Springs, or do you have to outsource that?
We do. We have a team that does it. We're scattered between White Sulphur and Bozeman and Livingston. And then honestly, like our pattern maker now is North Carolina, and we have folks.
So it's all USA made.
It is currently all USA made. Yep. We are shifting that. And there's been some exciting new changes in that. I hired a CEO last spring about this time. We brought on some investors and we're looking to really grow and scale. And it is very difficult to make high enough margins with US productions. So we're always going to keep some US manufacturing and have probably our original work pant still made here forever.
Sarah, kudos to you. That is fantastic because there's so much pressure on business owners with manufacturing. It's so easy to send it out to China, send it to India, and do all those things. To keep it still here for that long, that's really remarkable.
Yeah, it is. And it's also very exciting to look at better margins in Cambodia, but we'll see where things lay.
Sure.
But yes, it is remarkable. Yeah, and it's a really good quality. And we have had great partners with this mother-daughter owned factory in Seattle for the years. And we're onboarding some other U.S. factories as well right now and looking offshore a little bit just to see what could be possible.
Okay, 20 years ago, did you ever envision sitting right here and talking about this?
No, I wasn't sure where all this was going to go. You don't know, right? You can try really hard and hard to predict.
Really cool. Like where you're going. And so you're seeing the brand going worldwide. Is that correct? Outside of the US?
Yes. Yeah. We've always sold internationally, but it's one pair at a time. So not high volume, but still exploring some different collaborations and partnerships and possibly going down the wholesale route at some point. So
that's really cool. That's big time.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And I know there's a lot of financial stress and strategy involved in that. And before we transition into the foundation, because I want to get into that in the festival, because I look at what you've done and then where you've taken this and going back to your roots of helping communities, pretty freaking remarkable. And then I also want to know why the festival, because that's not an easy undertaking. I don't have enough to do. So but what I want to say is with the Red Ants Pants Corporation and how you've scaled it, is there any advice that you would give to Montana women-owned businesses? Obviously you're tenacious. You said your pride, right? Yeah. But you're also a person that's willing to learn every aspect and build that integrity with your brand. I'm going to wear and I'm going to walk the walk and talk the talk. What are some additional things that you could give to women that are struggling to try to make it in Montana?
Yeah, I would say the things that really helped me in the get-go was finding good advisors and mentors. That's a brilliant thing. And a lot of these things have been done before. So asking for help and getting folks on your team. And I have found that people are really excited and honored to be asked to help in a volunteer capacity to be advisors and whatnot. So that's a big one. And like I was saying earlier, how we have to wear all the hats at a new business anyway. There is going to come a time and a point where you do need to bring on more people and delegate and hire for your weakness, which is like when you get to a point where you can hopefully hire someone else to run the financial side or the design or marketing or sales or whatnot. So being true with yourself as far as where your strengths and shortcomings lie, and then surround yourself with really good, bright people that will work hard and are on board with it. So those have helped me for sure.
Sarah, you're at a 20-year scalability piece. It's almost like the big pivot. I see that with a lot of women. I've had lots of conversations with women that are 20 to 30 years. And they're like, I would like to buy that new truck for the company. It's going to cost, and they get nervous. It's almost, there's this anxiety. Being where you're at right now, do you have any of that towards scaling?
It is. I've run a very tight budget and bootstrapping this thing for a lot of years. And now that we have investors on board, and Stephanie Cole is this new CEO, and she's absolutely fantastic. And she's a go-getter and knows business really well. And it gets her really excited to try to grow and push and scale this thing. So knowing that I can trust her at the helm with some of these decisions, it's so exciting to have someone else sharing the responsibility for sure.
Good job on that. Because I know a lot of people often do not get the help that they need or the right help.
Yeah.
So it seems like you instinctively, again, trusting your gut and knowing this is what I need. And this is the type of person I need to fit this position to take me here.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm assuming really good communication.
Yes.
Like hard conversations.
Oh yeah, very much. There's some founder angst, certainly. And there's been so little friction with she and I, and we've set it up well. And I knew her well going into it. She's been involved with some of our programming on the foundation side. And I know some of her family really well. And when I was going into it, her sister-in-law, who's a good friend, she was like, Sarah, if you're gonna bring her on, just know that Steph's an F1 driver. And I was like, that is perfect because I am more of an F-150 driver, and this is it's like I've gotten it so far, and I'm ready to hand over the keys. Yeah, pretty good.
I'm so happy for you. That it's pretty remarkable to see a woman like you be able to do this successfully, and it's almost like watching a ballet dancer just do her thing. The beauty of watching how a business evolves and from a Montana woman owned business, it's remarkable. You are a legend. It's really cool. But I want to transition over to the foundation, the Red Ants Pants Foundation. I know you built this brand awareness, brand integrity, and then you decided, I want to open up a community foundation. Talk to me a little bit about that, and where did that come from?
Yeah, so the festival idea actually came first, and then in conjunction with the foundation. But initially, it was a marketing move for the pants company, which was a little bit crazy. And I had no business starting a huge production. I'm not doing events and music and any of that. But there was a gal I knew down in Livingston who was involved in the music industry, and she was like, Montana really needs a music festival. Maybe Red Ants Pants should start one. And I was like, that could be a good branding thing. And then did this with a $0 budget, dove in not knowing what I was getting into. And it was pretty incredible. The whole community rallied pretty hugely behind it, and also not knowing what they were getting into. But that first year, 6,000 fans came, and it was quite something. And we unbelievably pulled it off. Barely, but we did, and financially even, which was exciting. And then started building that up over the years to the point where it's gotten to be, we've had up to 18,000 people, and we've had to actually cap it and scale it back because we want to make sure it's still a safe and family friendly and welcoming event. But that first year in doing so, I was like, this will be good branding for the pants, but also music is such a great tool to bring people together to connect, and doing this in a cow pasture in 100 miles from any other larger town, it was a big risk for sure, and certainly had to go in with a bit of a splash. We had Lyle Lovett that first year, and Jerry Jeff Walker, Guy Clark, Rodney Crowell. It was pretty fantastic.
How did you even begin to, I understand, I think it's brilliant oftentimes people in business, they get stuck, they don't think outside the box of something like this. This would be a great marketing move on our part to create a festival to get more awareness around our products. It's pretty brilliant and smart to take on that is to come up with that. You have really cool marketing concepts, but to take on a concept like a festival, and then you have a really small community that just probably got used to you being there. And now this woman, Sarah Calhoun's coming in and slapping up a big concert in one of our backyards. Did you get pushback initially from that?
I didn't. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are grumbling when there's more traffic in town and this and that. But overall, and I worked on it really intentionally and closely held with community members and organizations and leaders, and the Jackson Ranch that lends us their property every year at no cost. Just incredible. They were on board, and I knew that I had the relationships and within the community to get the support. And folks, it's still very community driven. And at the end of that first year, the sheriff with whom I worked very closely, he texted me after the first fest and was like, awesome job, Sarah. I'll never arrest you for anything.
That's awesome. I love that. That's good. Yeah, you want those people on your side, just an FYI.
Yeah, for sure. But also with that, it goes a lot of intentional decisions around providing free shuttles so there's no drinking and driving in town, and really appropriate signage, and having a free street dance downtown so we can draw all our fans down and support our local businesses for the first night. And Rotary sells ice. The Rotary Club sells ice during the festival, and they make a killing every year. And the local cattle women sell breakfast in the campground, and the kids, the school groups make money picking rocks and filling gopher holes. And there's benefits to be had economically, certainly, and building a lot of pride in the community too.
1,000%. But that had to take time to build those relationships. So you can't just slap up a stage in a concert without pulling all of these major organizations and then selling that this will be a benefit to you.
Yes, exactly. And the safety and the emergency management plans, and not adding more to our local ambulance as far as the burden, like we bring in our own EMS and our own security and fire prevention and all the things to make sure that we're adding to the community, not putting in a draw and an extra weight on the resources here, which are already pretty limited. We've taken very careful measures to make sure it's a safe and fulfilling event for the whole town.
Wonderful. And let me ask you this. Did you anticipate 6,000 people showing up to White Sulphur Springs?
No, we sure did not
you think,
know how many.
Were you initially going maybe 500? But I'm assuming you'd have to hit a cap at some point to be able to get your costs, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had sold, you know how Montanans don't really RSVP. So we had sold, I don't remember if it was 1,500 advanced tickets, and then did not know what was going to happen at the gate. And that day we opened the campground, we looked down and just saw miles and miles of cars and campers and cheap wagons and RVs just waiting to get in all the way down the valley. And I was like, all right, we built it, and they sure came. So quite something. Yeah.
The way you just described that, are you the type of person in that moment seeing people show up like the movie Field of Dreams, right? Yep. If you build it, they will come. Are you the type of person where you sit in the moment for yourself and go, holy crap, I made this happen?
There was no time for sitting that first year. It was like we literally bought out toilet paper across 3 neighboring counties, and we couldn't get, everything was such a shit show behind the scenes, literally. And it was all hands on deck. And it's amazing we did make it through that first year. But since then, we built a lot of phenomenal infrastructure and organizational structure, and we have 120 staff and 250 volunteers, and it's a pretty smooth running machine at this point. But
yeah.
Been a good one.
Pretty amazing, Sarah. Now, I'm going to shift a little bit to your foundation. Talk to me. So the festival came about, and then from the festival, is that where you started to create this community foundation?
Yes. So that first year, deciding if we made any money on the event, that I wanted to give some away to a nonprofit, and then didn't find the right fit for any other nonprofit. So again, decided to start a 501c3, which again, I had no experience doing. So a lot of learning on that front as well. But that first year, so we did establish the Red Ants Pants Foundation, and then the festival is a program of and fundraiser for the foundation. So it's owned by the nonprofit.
I do have one more question though about the festival. I just remembered. Sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. With the festival, I've noticed one of the things I want to say, you hit the nail on the head when you said there's a culture here where Montanans don't RSVP. It is so true.
Yep.
And I think oftentimes because of the competition with the outside, a lot of events go by the wayside. And however, with this, I'm seeing a massive trend for music festivals all throughout Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, it's insane. I think 20, 30 years ago, there was no music coming to the state. It was very difficult. And Tom Garenzi, who helped me book in the first couple of years out of Bozeman, he's just shocked by it all as well. I think some people probably see that a quick buck can get made producing events, which is not always the case, but some can. But I think also our fans have been trained to appreciate live music, which is great for everybody. And also the bands routing through, now that there are more venues, there's more routing available. So they're seeing that there's a market here in Montana. So it's
for sure. And you got these insane festivals with these sick backdrops with the mountains in the background. It's why would you not want to be standing outside with a beer, watching some amazing music, and just looking around going, wow, this is where we're listening to live music.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's another geniusness that I want to point out for you that you saw. I think the festival thing has been within the last 5, maybe 10 years. And how old is the festival, the Red Ants Pants Festival?
This is our 14th festival this year. Yep.
You were a little ahead of the time.
Yep.
Right? So again, that's a person like you that's visionary that can see potential trends or see the magic of what Montana gives. And then you add the love of music, and you're like, this makes sense. And it will help my brand.
Yep.
Pretty freaking genius. I do need to know, are you doing any mentoring? You should, because that's the type of stuff that I think women need to tap into, is that brilliance of thinking further out, strategizing further out, but also thinking abstractly. You must have a very abstract brain to think, oh, this is different. This could work.
Creativity there for sure.
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, so the Community Foundation, who are you guys serving?
So with the Red Ants Pants Foundation, our mission is to support women's leadership, working family farms and ranches, and then enriching rural communities. So a lot of basically women across rural Montana and their communities. So it's pretty broad. And you look at something like the festival that we touch a lot of people, tens of thousands in a short manner. And then our programs, we have a grant cycle where we've gifted over $200,000 to different rural communities across the state. And so those impacts and the ripple effects from the monies we can give to different communities. And then we have our women's work skill courses, which are 4-day chainsaw and carpentry classes taught by women for women. We also have dovetail joinery and trailer backing, which is super fun. Wow. And then we've got a girls leadership program, which is going great guns. We just finished our 7th cohort. It's a year-long in-depth leadership study for junior year high school girls from rural Montana. There's a mentoring program or portion there, and then they take these leadership skills and do their own community project back in their hometown. That's been fantastic to see. And then we have women in ag community well-being retreats too. So there's a lot of touch points with different types of folks in all across Montana.
That is really remarkable. And the breadth of your programs provided it's all encompassing.
It is.
That is so stinking cool. And how many people did you serve in the beginning and where are you at now?
Oh man, I don't know the numbers on the top of my head. I know for our grants, we've touched over 100 different communities with those dollars. Cohorts, we have, I think, 110 different alumni from our girls leadership programs. And we have an alumni program for them as well. The carpentry and chainsaw classes, that's probably over 200 or 300 by now. And then obviously the festival has 15,000 a year. So
holy buckets.
It's adding up, which is fun because I think that's the part about entrepreneurship that is the most interesting, because you can think of crazy and creative things to do and just try it and see what sticks and what works, and you can vision and come up with.
And if it doesn't work, you pivot it. Has there ever been a moment or a thing a concept that you tried to do and then that didn't work out, and so I had to pivot? Or is most of everything that you put out there, it's worked?
Things have been working well for sure. There's not always. Let's see. We've had to do really challenging pivots when we canceled really early during COVID. We canceled in April and we were the first ones to do so before that was even a known situation. And that was tricky pivoting from the sense of, we just canceled our fundraiser for the year. Now, how are we going to figure out how to underwrite the whole nonprofit, and doing those kind of shifts really quickly. Similarly, with the pants company we were asked to start making hospital gowns and masks. So we did a big manufacturing pivot on that side as well.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Which is also nice with being a small, nimble business. You can pivot pretty efficiently, but yeah, we'll see. Things have been going pretty well. There's certainly failures all along the way and challenges and cash flow struggles and this and that, but it's been going pretty smoothly because there's a lot of good people on our team.
Yeah, you've made it happen, which is pretty. I think you just instinctively know you're a visionary. You know where we need to go and how. It's not just about it's not for you. It's for the greater good, which is pretty remarkable. Now, I'm going to ask verbatim. You're someone who says yes, rolls up her sleeves and makes it happen. What do you hope your legacy is, not just as a business owner, but as a community leader?
I hope that people see what's possible, especially in small town America. And I think there's so much potential for creating good community-driven businesses in rural towns, and what's available, and doing more like you're doing, the storytelling around them and showing folks that big things are possible in small towns.
Yes, they are. And you're doing it. You're an example. I have another question. What do you think is unique about you that's helped you follow through on the hard stuff and get it done when others might quit?
Again, the pride piece, I think that drives me sometimes, but also I'm pretty persuasive when I need help or want people to get excited about an idea or jump on board. There's no way this festival could get pulled off without getting a lot of people bought into the vision and wanting to pitch in and pull it off. And there's a friend of mine in Helena who calls it getting Calhouned as a verb. So all of a sudden you find out you're doing something you didn't really plan on doing, but you are now helping out in a big way.
I need you for my boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Need you to Calhoun my kids.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, cool. I love that. I do want to know though, as a woman that's a doer, you're pretty doer. How do you receive? What are some of the things that you do to turn off that insanely powerful brain of yours? And what do you do to give back to yourself? Because you seem to give out and do, but how do you receive and take some of that burden off your shoulders and just allow yourself to decompress?
That's a good question. And I'm working on that actively these days. My pets are a huge help, honestly, and getting out in the hills with a wolfhound puppy. That's a good one. And just having, I'm a sucker for renovating historic buildings and making them into community spaces, which I realize is not always self-care, but it's something I really enjoy doing, and creating places where people can gather and then bringing in, whether it's music or writing workshops or whatnot. That really fills me up. And gardening, and this time of year with everything in bloom and everything looking is so beautiful outside, and getting into the hills and rivers and walking the dirt roads.
And that's your stop. That's your stop button, right?
Yep.
Those are your stop buttons.
Yep.
Good for you, because we all need them. Otherwise, we burn out like a bright star. So knowing and sensing that for yourself to say, I need to go take out my puppy, and I need to go for a walk, and I need to get the hell out of here and just decompress for a minute. And I think it's hard for women that are doers that to turn, because even when we're trying to stop, we're still thinking. Do you find that for yourself, where you're out walking, you're like, I should just be focusing on the puppy, but I'm thinking about some strategy session I just had and what I need to do about it?
Yep, always. And that's a hard thing to turn off. And then there's the guilt of any time spent not being productive it feels like there's guilt and shame around that, which is not healthy, I realize. And also just trying not to multitask with every damn thing. You can go on a walk for 20 minutes with your dog in the first thing in the morning without texting while you're walking. There's ways to just slow the heck down and try to be present.
We're all trying to do it.
Yep. It's
We're
hard.
all trying to do the not do. That's what I always say. I'm always trying to not do, but then the way I think and do, it's just always right there. It's, I wish my brain would just stop for 5 seconds so I can just receive peace and joy. And then I'm like, oh wait, there's a little joy over there. Maybe I just need to focus on that. But then I'm the same. I'm like, shit, I should be doing this. I should be folding clothes. I should, whatever I need to be, I should be producing something. So I get it. It's the constant struggle, and overachievers and successful people like yourself, I often think like, how do they turn it off? Because it has to be constantly in their face 24/7. And the fact that you are working on, that's a sign of just health. It's a good sign of health, being a healthy entrepreneur. But successful. I have really enjoyed getting to know you, and just, I feel really privileged to have had this opportunity to just even chat with you. I know I took a little bit more of your time than need be, but we are down to our last 3 questions. And I just want to say I'm so honored, Sarah, to have this conversation, because you've made history for Montana, and you're making history. And for so many people, thousands of people that you've impacted in ways that you probably don't even know. So that's really it's an honor for me to talk to somebody like you. So thank you. I have my last 2 questions, actually. If you could invite any musician, dead or alive, to headline the Red Ants Pants Music Festival and strut across the stage rocking a pair of your signature work pants, who would it be, and what song would they be belting out to show off the fit?
Oh, good one. It would definitely be Dolly Parton.
Good.
Which of her songs?
Would you know her fit?
Would
you know her fit? Would you know her fit on the top of the hand?
She would be the curvy cut for sure.
Okay.
And she's pretty little. I would probably guess like a 28 by 31, but that's very much a guess.
Oh, that's awesome.
Certainly for
and
sure.
What would she be belting out?
My favorite Dolly song, "Light of a Clear Blue Morning," would be the song I would like.
How does that go? I'm trying to think of it.
I am not going to sing it for you here, but it's the one. It's the one that she wrote when she finally left that producer that was such a challenging what was the show she was always on for him?
Yes,
Anyway.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Oh, it's fantastic. Light or Clear Blue Morning. Worth looking up.
Good one. I love your pick. That's awesome. And I hope she comes. I hope she comes to one of your festivals and sings it. She's still rocking and she looks amazing. And you should totally send her a pair of your pants. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Okay. My last question, which is our signature question for the podcast. We believe in amplifying the voices of remarkable women. If you could pass the mic to a Montana woman to share her story on the IWD406 podcast, who would she be and why?
That would be my wonderful dear friend and colleague, Kathy Weber, who's over in Missoula. She does communications for us and for many other fantastic organizations across the state. But most interestingly, she's also doing this beautiful storytelling and video photo project it's called the Rotuma Project, where her mom was from in Fiji. There's this tiny island there called Rotuma that's threatened by some of the climate change issues and such. And she's doing a really neat work about capturing some of the culture and language and stories of her home place. So I think that would be a phenomenal contribution to the state to learn more about that project.
She sure would. And I think Brianne passed the mic to her as well.
Oh, so good.
Come on.
Yeah.
You got two women rooting for you to tell your story. So I would love to interview. I learned a little bit more about her and I read her Rotuma project online. It is super interesting to follow. The fact that they're losing their native language, all the things that she's doing to be a part of rebuilding, she's stinking cool.
Yeah, she
is really cool. I'm really excited. And again, Kathy, please come on. You've got two people rooting for you to be on the podcast. Thank you so much, Sarah. You are just a gift to our state. And I'm, again, like I said, I'm just really honored to share some space with you today. And thank you for all that you've done for Montana.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it.
A special thank you to our podcast guest. You can find all of her links in the description of this episode. If you like what you heard, please hit subscribe. You will be notified of future podcast guests. Follow us on our social media platforms and stay tuned for our next podcast chat with an amazing Montana woman.